Welcome, everyone. We are so thrilled that you're here with us tonight. We know that everybody's time is precious and you're very busy. And we're just really excited about sharing this with you tonight. Not only the art and the music, the story behind it, but I'm Leanne Heltzel, and I'm a multidimensional artist. And I channel frequencies into paintings that then you meditate with. And it's called ocular meditation. The paintings, the frequencies come to me. I don't decide what I'm going to paint. And every aspect of the piece is completely guided by spirit. And so I am just taking instructions and following those instructions. Everything that I do with these paintings
Mm.
is in trust. It's in a divine trust that because I can hear some pretty crazy things sometimes, right? But I just always have to just trust and do it. And when we're explaining the story about how David and I started working together, that'll become a little more clear. So I'm located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the US. And again, I'm just super excited to be unveiling this piece today. How about you, Davida?
My name's Dovita Goodman, and I'm currently living on Isla de Margarita in Venezuela. I've been here since 2006. According to my mom, I started playing the piano when I was 2, and I remember starting piano lessons at the age of 4. And at a pretty early age, I discovered I loved to improvise and play along with the radio. So alongside my classical music training, I was always just fooling around. And about a year ago, I discovered that I had a gift that I didn't realize I had, which is to tune into people and be able to create music for them. And if somebody commissions me to make a gift for someone they care about, I tune into both those people and I'm able to feel both of them and channel the message. And I have no idea how I do it. I can guess, but I have no idea. The music just comes and everything I record is an improvisation on the first tape. So that's a little bit about me.
And we also just want to acknowledge Sharon, wave Sharon. We're very thankful for putting this through evolutionary minded wellness. So when you registered, you went to Sharon's site, and Sharon's location is a magnificent wellness center in Pittsburgh. And she offers Reiki and sound baths and all sorts of wonderful things. And she also I have my gallery space in Sharon's space. So many of my originals, if they haven't been purchased or they're on the road with me in some way, they're at Sharon's location that people can go in and meditate with. So thank you, Sharon, for all your assistance in helping us today. So we're going to try to just be really succinct. We don't want to take up a ton of time. We want to get to the good stuff. But Dovita and I are just going to tell the story of how all of this has unfolded, because again, to me, that's where the amazing pieces are. That's where the magic happens. I channel these paintings, right? And everything's guided. So I don't know, is it going to be a door? Is it going to be a canvas? Is it going to be 3 canvases and 2 doors? Sometimes I'll do multiple paintings of the same frequency. I knew in September of 2023. And when I say, I'll just keep saying, like, I heard, like, this information was, came through me. September 2023, I was to be bringing through a frequency during the eclipse of the portal of April 2024, and that I was going to be bringing in a frequency during that season. And there were a few requirements. I had to be on the line of totality, and that's all I knew. This kind of universal language comes in around that. So I'm excited. It's a frequency of grace. I'm starting to feel into it. And I was like, I think there's supposed to be music with this. I don't know who the musician's going to be. I don't know how that's going to come in. So just a few days later, my therapist and Dovita's dear friend, Talia, said to me during a session, it's time for me to see your art. Okay, I gave her a link to my website. She meditated with the piece. She said immediately, Dovita came to mind. Dovita needs to meet Leanne. And she didn't know anything about this painting, about Grace, nothing. So that happened organically. And then what happened to you when Talia sent you my website?
So I took a look, I went to the gallery, and the moment I saw Leanne's paintings, I just said out loud, oh, she paints the colors of my music. The next day, I was looking through the paintings and I focused in on one that's the third in a series on love. I was drawn to it. I looked at it for maybe 30 seconds and I went to the piano, hit record, and played this piece that's now called Love. I sent it to Leanne. I said, I think we should meet. Leanne said, can we meet Tuesday at 4? And that's how we got together.
We knew we were doing this together before we even spoke one word to each other. And we were on the phone or on Zoom for a couple hours and just knew that, okay, this is happening. So then the ball started rolling rather quickly. And I think it was a few days later that I did the first layer. So this painting is on a door, and there's several layers. And so we had agreed, because how's this going to work between the two of us? And so we agreed that every time I felt like it was to a point to take a picture, not every layer, but that I would send Dovita that image, and then she would, how does that work? Like when you would just see the layer, you would just sit down and play?
Yep, that's it. I don't meditate. I don't do anything because this is something I'm not in charge of. I mean, I have to physically go to the piano and I have to look at it, and I don't know how it happens, but that's what happened. And I remember, well, you had told me a story. Are you going to tell the story about the water?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because this is a perfect example of the way things just magically unfold. We're not talking to each other very often. I'm mailing her pictures. She's emailing me back music that then I'm playing as I'm channeling the next layer. And one of the hits I got was, a critical piece is that there needs to be sacred water in this particular painting. And that's never happened before. And I realized, oh my gosh, 7 years ago, a client gifted me a vial of water that a shaman had given her that had traveled all over the globe, getting a couple drops from every major waterway on the globe. And she said, I don't know why I'm supposed to give this to you. And I said, I don't know. I don't work with water, but it's been sitting on my altar for 7 years. So I'm like, oh, sacred water. I have sacred water. I have water from the underground labyrinth at the Bosnian pyramids when I was there a number of years back. I have water from Glastonbury Springs. I have water from this powerful group of women that I belong to called the Sacred Rebels, that we consecrated for healing. And so I don't say anything to Dovita. I'm just guided, mix all those waters together, and I'm thrilled because they're under my roof. And then you email me and say,
I sent her my first piece and I call it Water Grace. And it sounds like water flowing.
I remember you saying, I don't know what it is, Leanne, but this music is it's going to be watery. Like, how perfect, right? So you started this process of me painting, sending Dovita a layer, and then her interpreting that sound and sending it back to me. So now it's April 8th. I am on the line of totality. And I just know I show up with the door. It has a couple layers on it. And I was outside in the sun painting, and I assumed that that was it for the day. And then the direction came to lay it flat, right like in the middle of where all of my friends were gathering. We had like a dozen really, really powerful people come and enjoy the eclipse with us. So the artwork was laying there, and I thought, okay, that's all that's going to happen. And as the eclipse time was getting closer and closer, this energy was flowing through me so fast. And it was, you need to read the meta insights. And again, I'll read those tonight before we meditate. I didn't intend to, I thought I was just gonna sit and enjoy the eclipse with everybody. I start reading them and I could barely speak. The emotion coming through me was so strong and so powerful, and I was like fighting back tears because the energy was just so intense. I was directed to take that sacred water and spray it really heavily over the entire painting, and invited these women, if they wanted to come and put their hands on in the sacred water and engage with this frequency of grace. And maybe one or two people will come. And I turned around and they were all with their hands praying into this painting. And it was just so overwhelming that I started to cry. Like like it finally released. I couldn't hold back at the tears. And one of my friends leaned over to me and she said, "Let the tears fall into grace." And so my tears fell into the painting. And so it's really hard to explain the intensity of what that day was. I don't know what was greater, seeing the eclipse or having this experience with this frequency. That's the way that the painting unfolded, this synchronistic connection between Dovita and the frequency, and me and the frequency, and us and each other. And it was just such a beautiful experience.
Yeah, I would tell my friends a match made in heaven.
Absolutely. It was incredibly guided, and I mean everything down to the relationship that we've had, right? And just everything about it just couldn't be more magical. So it's I always say to people, you can't make this stuff up, right? And we are going to have a Q&A because some people might be thinking, I got a question or two about whatever. But that's the story of how it unfolded. Now what I'm going to do, but we're going to play a video. It's only 4 minutes long, and it's the birth of grace. And so it's visually going to show you kind of that process of the painting and coming together, as well as some of Davita's music. So True grace is the movement, the force that creates evolution, as it comes from the spirit of all sentient beings. It is in the air around the prayer, intentions, and the very most loving thoughts, actions, and deeds alike. It is what moves the evolutionary wheel toward enlightenment and the return to divine balance. So grace, it is in fact a sort of fuel, an evolutionary fuel, a sacred evolutionary fuel. Okay, so you were introduced to the painting through that video. I am going to unveil her. This is, I've never done this before. I feel like there should be a roll of the drums. So I'm actually going to unveil it, but then I think I'm going to take my computer over to it. We're going to meditate with the painting and it will be in the same video format, but this is like the official unveiling. So, and we're in my art studio, so there's like paint on the walls and all sorts of stuff. All right. There she is. I'm just gonna hopefully not give anybody motion sickness. But let's see if I can do this so you can kind of see some of the detail. The doorknob was also just kind of came in magically. It's an aquamarine glass, has bubbles in it. It's antique. So this is the frequency of grace. What we're going to do now is we're going to do the actual meditation, and it's a 12-minute meditation. Dovita's music is a little tad bit over 12 minutes. The video will kind of explain it, but I will do so now prior. If you can get this screen as big as you can on your computer. So, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to see the artwork sideways. It'll take up the whole screen. You're just going to pick one spot on the painting. It might be, one of the tiny white dots, whatever it is. And you're just going to focus your gaze on that one spot. You're not going to look all around. You're just going to focus on one spot and relax your gaze. And if any thoughts do come into your mind, you can just breathe in grace and exhale grace. And it is 12 minutes. You're going to pick that one spot. You're just going to keep your gaze there. And don't be surprised. We actually want it to happen that the art will move. The art might move. It might go three-dimensional. The colors could change. It could go completely white. And what that is the frequency coming in through your retina, going to your hypothalamus, going directly to your pineal gland. And that's that when it interacts with your pineal gland is when it's interacting with the divinity that's within you. And this pure frequency of grace can bless your whole being. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, get it ready to go. But then I'm going to ask you if you can close your eyes, because the first thing we're going to do is I am going to read the meta insights. So just get comfortable. Know that when you open your eyes, again, the instructions will be there again, but you're just going to pick that one spot. And let's just take a nice deep breath in together and out. The painting that you're being called to bring in to form is not solely for the eclipse or that season. Think of it as the turning of the dial of the evolutionary motion of this planet. It is being brought into form during this time within the revealing. Humans always tend to think that everything is about them, still conditioned to think they rule the earth. That is one error that one can cause destruction to the planet that you call home. The human race was given the task to caretake the planet, for you have the capacity to converse with the very subtle realms of earth and the cosmos. Of course, with the forgetting of your power and true usefulness, that caretaker role became one of empirical control, therefore setting in motion methods of destruction and self-harm. The word self-harm conveying that harm to the earth is harm to oneself. Again, not everything is about you humans. This is not just about the human race, these turnings of the evolutionary wheel, so to speak. It is about the entire organism of existence. It is wise to see humanity within the organism, not solely the emperor of it. And I said, please explain. There's the notion that humans were given this sacred right to rule the earth over all others within the animal kingdom, plants, and minerals. Because of this, humans have been ruling in the utmost egoic way, destroying the land, water, and air, and the earth's inhabitants, including each other. And where has this gotten mankind? Then there is a flip side of this is humans feeling their power lying outside of them somewhere, like high in the sky from a friendly or vindictive god, depending on his mood. It must also be noted that this egoic framework would, of course, refer to God as a he, for it is the very egoic mindset that he created him. These two conflicting concepts are imbalanced and bipolar in nature, fully drenched in the very duality of this planet, this existence, this place you call your earth and home. It is now the turning for the organism as a whole to self-correct. There have been many times such self-correction has been necessary for the entire organism to rebalance to what you consider homeostasis. This time is no different, with the only exception that consciousness has evolved to the level that some have the awareness of this very natural occurrence. And this time, it is the mankind that has contributed so greatly to the point that this rebalancing is required. Do not judge. Do not call anything wrong. This is simply the progression, the playing out of the role of humankind. It is becoming more and more visible to many, yet some believe and choose to live in a different way or think that to be vulnerable, we will be weak. But this is not true. This is the very reason for the intensity of the conflict now on Earth. That is why the control is intensifying. It is out of pure fear that if love is left to reign, that we will be extinguished, for there must be a higher controlling force that can stamp out everything in one thought. You know, the angry God. This is the time for pure sight of one's pure nature, the one existing outside of duality, for she wants to be expressed as well. Her very divinity wants to be expressed. The birthing of a sacred love that is in balance and neutrality of isness is threatening to the ones who are conditioned and believe the power lies in positioning oneself into a state of power and fighting to keep oneself there. This occurs in so many ways and occurs over and over like a broken record. But all that repeating has worn a hole into what is possible. You see, there is not a reason to bastardize the repeating. Simply see it from the place of neutrality. It simply is the way humanity has chosen to manifest this collective reality. More and more are awakened to the wisdom of the game, seeing the loopholes out of the dark choices made over and over again. This to be called a new age, only for those very words to be laughed at and belittled. Nobody wants to see the next greatest version in the room. It is too intimidating. Every step taken towards this next evolution has been vilified. Yet the next evolutionary step appears just the same. What is occurring is the increase of more souls incarnating, the desire, the sight that we control this ship, that we choose love as the astrolabe to guide us home, home to the world we desire rather than the one we are victims to. You are your own astrolabe. The earth is her own astrolabe. Once you see it and know it, you become the Godhead aligning with the Godhead of creation. This is the true nature of everything. Your kind can either step into its full ownership or be removed for balance sake. Your kind can either play our full role of the bringers of divinity within the inherent divinity that already exists, or be trimmed away like a limb too close to one. It makes no difference in the view of it all, but it does make all the difference to the human race. And that it is at this time a race, not of control or domination, but one of love and the very grace you have only to experience the tip of. Grace is the only reason humans remain here, and it is grace that will light your path. This is the frequency to represent at this time grace. For this can happen easily or dramatically, this rebalancing and the natural progression to level up and evolve to the next stage. It can happen with humanity or without. Grace does not secure an end result one way or the other. Instead, it offers inner sight supported by each person's fully realized self, a path home to the tomorrow where humanity inherits a new earth governed by a new law, a true divinity and governorship based in balance and wholeness and love. And the result of that is peace. But don't pray for peace, the end result. Pray instead for your own divine self to come into full view, both revealed to yourself where it meets the ego and allows it to rest, and for the betterment of the entire organism. And I asked, what is the importance of grace coming into manifestation during the eclipse season? There's much speculation of this time, and rightfully so. So much time is being taken trying to understand what is occurring and why and what the possible outcomes can be within the topic of the total eclipse and so many topics within society. Deconstruction and dissemination of information is all well and good, but it is far more important and filled with grace to simply allow it to be, allow the sacred flow to happen. Humans tend to think if they can just wrap their head around something that surely they can move forward properly. History shows otherwise. All the various perspectives and notions can spin one's head, not knowing what is truth. Truth is beyond your thinking and understanding on what is occurring at this time. Higher forces of support are at play that adding more to the narrative does not serve when the narrative is beyond human understanding. Humankind doesn't like that notion. But trust in your belief in love, pure, sacred love, unconditional, sacred. Keep your focus there and flow within that truth. That is all that is required at this time. For that sacred surge of energy moves the fabric of the matrix of the cosmos in the directions your heart desires. And I ask, what is the frequency of grace? There are so many definitions of grace, and not of the frequency itself, but only aspects that describe a human experience or interaction. True grace is the movement, the force that creates evolution as it comes from the spirit of all sentient beings. It is the air around prayer, intentions, and the very most loving thoughts, actions, and deeds alike. It is what moves the evolutionary wheel toward enlightenment and the return to divine balance. So it is, in fact, a sort of fuel, an evolutionary fuel, a sacred evolutionary fuel. You can see why it is so important to grace all sentient beings at this time, yes? In this, your 11th hour of chaos that is churning. As the churning continues and increases, it is this divine fuel that is needed to be invoked in new areas of the human psyche and choices. Does it currently exist here within this reality? Of course. Does it need to be increased to meet the dire need to evolve in the correct direction? Yes, indeed. So you can go ahead and open your eyes and we'll begin the meditation. Let's take a nice deep breath in. Anyone that has anything to say about the meditation, or if you have any questions about our process or either one of us, we're going to just open it up for questions for a few minutes.
Yeah, this was amazing. So amazing. I don't really have any questions except one that I put in the chat because I didn't want to forget something that you channeled.
Okay.
What is that? Do you know what they were referring to?
The astrolabe.
Oh, the astrolabe. I know. I did. This information comes through me and I had to look it up. So it's an ancient navigational tool for ships. So that notion to be that we are our own astrolabe, our own guidance system. Yeah.
Well, I want to say first of all, like it was beautiful, the painting and the music and the combination beyond. As soon as the meditation started, I started crying. And then it stopped and then I started crying again. To me, I feel like it's definitely the energy you channeled, but it's also like for me the sadness of what like the message that you received. Like I concur. Like I'm on that page and there is a sadness about it, and I understand what they're saying, that it is or it's not. Like it's meant to be the way it's meant to be, and I accept that, but it still brings sadness to me about how the planet and how human race has kind of, yeah. But yeah, so I've never meditated to a painting, but I did want to say that I have similar work as you, and I channel images, and I get messages too. So it was really wonderful to meet somebody else who has a similar format,
Mm,
and thank you. I'm just grateful. I'm so grateful. It was beautiful.
wonderful. And perhaps when I could not hold back the tears, that day of the eclipse, perhaps that was part of it as well. It just felt like a huge release more than anything. But yeah, it is so like, what more do we need right now than grace? It's so needed.
Yes. And the last thing I want to say is your painting, as I was looking at it, to me, it's a landscape. It is like our planet Earth. And it's kind of like, it feels to me that whatever came through is just almost to kind of bring in that balance. That's what I got from it. So thank you for inviting me, Davida.
Thank you for being here. Sharon, you have your hand up.
Yes, hello, thank you. I just want to first say how, my goodness, how beautiful that painting is. And at one point, I saw many things, but at one point, I saw a face that was crying in there, and it was your tears, and I started to cry. And then your painting started to tell me that it looked like a giant wave all of a sudden, and that this water is purifying the earth. It's a purification of everything. But I'm not going to go into all the details. I saw so many things in there. We could talk another time, or I'll write it down for you. But I just wanted to also speak on the sadness that Lisa was talking about. And if we can look at it in a way of not separation from what's happening and us being here, but we, as a chance for hope, because we as people have an opportunity to make a difference, to change what's happening right now, changing ourselves. Had a conversation with somebody last night, and I said all we could do is wake up every day and say I'm going to be a little bit better than the person I was yesterday. And every day you do that, and a year from now you're going to look back and say, I don't even know that person. I mean, I'm so proud of who I am today. So that's all we need to do, is just work on being a little bit better than yesterday, and we will be fantastic. We'll be okay. It's going to be it is a beautiful world, and it's going to be more beautiful with all of us in it. But thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. What that made me, I'm just trying to find it quick, because these there's a lot of words that came in that transmission, but to me, this was the most powerful piece, that the end result is peace. Don't pray for peace. That's the end result. Pray instead for your own divine self to come into full view. right? Both to yourself and to the betterment of the entire organism. And to me, that's just, that says it all, right? And you're right, Sharon, if we can focus inward and finding that divinity within us, then that's how we change the world. Thank you. Cheryl, you have your hand up.
That was a really profound experience. Thank you, Leanne and Davida. I haven't really meditated quite like that with a painting before. I've done some work actually some work in when I was in Italy at Damanhur, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but they're Celtic painting transmissions and amazing stuff. And I obviously they're channeled, and it's a similar. Each one is channeling in a different frequency. Obviously, you're. I mean, I was in tears early on, and I couldn't stop. I didn't even try and control it. It was. And I didn't expect it, but just the beauty of I mean, I've listened to a lot of Davida's music, which I've loved very much in many different ways. And I just feel like the wedding of your music, Davida, with this exquisite painting landscape experience is so moving. It's just like it completes what you've been moving toward very so clearly. And I guess I found myself at first dancing. I could feel the circles and the dancing. I dance, so it's a natural flow. And there was a goddess, a large goddess at one point, and a doorway at another point, and just this, and it was a flow. There was so much flow in the painting. I loved dance and watercolor, so just your flow throughout the whole thing was just so alive. It took the chaos, because it's so many different things are happening at once, and made it into beauty. I mean, it really transmuted chaos into this beautiful, magnificent flowers and sparkles and radiance. Just and the color for me, color is really powerful stuff. So anyway, it was absolutely wondrous to watch. I'm familiar so much with Davida and her music, and to have that singing together was so very grateful to be here. Very grateful. Thank you both.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Yeah, it makes me think, Cheryl, of every time I would get this email from Dovita. Like, I'd send her a layer, and then she'd send me the next piece that came through, and I would rush down here into my studio and just play it on repeat as I was painting and letting that energy flow through me. It was so you talking about it's making me kind of relive all those days.
You can really feel it. I can really feel that dance, pas de deux, mystical pas de deux, cosmic. Anyway.
And Susan.
Well, I don't have a whole lot of words. I see the light. I see the light, and it penetrates through the barrier. It comes down into, travels to the chaos, and becomes one with the chaos. Colors, there's joy in the colors. And the music, the dissonance you play, the dissonance from time to time. And I know I have to be in the dissonance because that's part of the whole. And now that I'm looking at it, I see these orbs that are solidified orbs, and not just the circles, they're solidified. And we have helpers. I mean, the helpers are everywhere. They're just everywhere. We just have to connect. And I think we connect through the colors and through the light that's coming in. And you can ride that. You ride it and it moves you. And then there's those freaking yellow lines. I don't know about the yellow lines, except they look like kind of like a roller coaster through the chaos that connects things. And then the dissonance comes back. That's what I get from it. It's very beautiful. Both pieces complement, support one another. The colors, the visual, the sound, many senses being used at one time to allow the light to come through us to touch everything and everyone, because it is about the grace. It's about allowing people to be who they are, to get what they need, and not to push ourselves and or ego into that process, because it's not mine to push into other people. It's mine to be with myself and let other people be with themselves and let that come together as it will, but to be compassionate, to be allowing, to be patient, to be kind. I mean, deeply touching, you guys. You guys rocked it. Thank you so much.
You know, that's what I love so much about, I should have said this earlier. I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to start channeling paintings. You know, this was a completely organic process. I'm an art director and I own a marketing firm. I sat at a computer all day for many years. Dovita didn't wake up one day and go, you know, I think I'm going to start playing the essence of a person, or in this case, a frequency, right? So what I love about the art and the music is it doesn't force. It's all about a relationship between this divine frequency and the individual. And every time, like you meditated with the painting today, you can meditate with it tomorrow and it'll be a completely different experience. And the next time will be, because you're a completely different person, right? So there's just this ongoing gift with it. And to me, it's a portal. And after a while, if it's hanging in your home, you could just glimpse it out of the corner of your eye, or just hear a few, chords of the music, and you're right back into that connection. So it's it blows me away every day.
Thank you so much.
So very welcome. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments? I always love to hear what people see or feel when they're meditating with the art and listening to the music.
I have a question. I noticed that you have a lot of circles that show up in a lot of your paintings, and do they have a certain meaning for you?
That's an interesting question. Yes, there's something about a lot of this I don't understand the logistics of, but I know when I'm putting a circle onto the painting, and again, I'm guided with size, the placement, do they connect, do they not connect, all of that. I can't describe the degree of energy that starts flowing through my body. So to me, there are these portals. The whole painting's a portal, but they're like, I don't know, they're the entry points in. And so they're the most powerful piece to me of the painting itself. Ellie, you unmuted. You want to say something, honey?
This just feels like a pioneering technology to me. It just feels like something we're going to be using more of in the future. You know, this people who have this capacity to do what you two are doing. Yeah, I just feel like you're among the first. So it's very, very exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, I always think, like Tesla has said, like everything is energy and frequency. That's everything. And I think that that's where we're moving into, is understanding that. Yeah, Lisa.
I just wanted to share that because we do a similar thing, my paintings also have a lot of circles.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that would be interesting to share.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about the circles for sure.
And someone asked in the chat, do you use a can to make
Oh,
the
that
circle?
was me. That was me, because I figured it looks so perfect. You probably dipped it.
Here's what's funny. I dip all kinds of stuff. Like when I just know, oh, the circle's got to be about that big,
Right. You find
There goes-
something
There goes my lampshade.
great.
Or I need something that's like a quarter of an inch. Okay, well that cap of that pen is now trash. So yeah, it's kind of funny watching me work or seeing my studio when I'm done, you know, from a day, because there's like
Everything.
so yeah, the circles are the easy part, but they're the power, like I don't know, the PowerPoint. Yeah, Sharon, you got your hand up.
So I just want to share that Lee Ann is the most powerful teacher as well. If you're called to work with her to learn how to paint like this, she unlocked something in me in the class that we did, and I also started painting a bunch of paintings. I did 7 paintings last week, a little 16 by 20 canvases. But to learn from the master, it's incredible. She's so gifted at what she does, and she makes it a fun experience as well. So highly recommend, if you're called to work with Leanne individually, go do it.
Oh,
You won't regret it.
Sharon, your paintings
Thank
are,
you.
I'm gonna say that she's did one for each chakra and they're amazing.
And I've never painted before you taught me. So when I say you unlocked something, I don't know if it was your meditation that you did with us or just you as the master teacher. You definitely unlocked something. And thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm having a good time using my right brain instead of my left for a change. So thank you.
Yeah, cool stuff, right? I don't think Davita or I could have guessed 10 years ago, you know, we're going to be doing this call together and we're going to be channeling music and
Together,
baby.
music, how does that work, you know? I wanted to share something about my process that you don't actually know, Leanne, is that, you know, when we first talked, I thought I was being brought on board to create a piece at the end when the piece was finished. And you said, you know, would you like to see the layers as I go? And I said, sure. I had no idea that I was going to actually influence the creation of the painting as you went. And if I had thought about that, I would have felt, oh, I dare not do that. I can't interfere, right, with your process. But it was really meant to be a collaboration from the very beginning, not just at the end and I come in and play. And that was so special. And I found I changed as a person, and how I played changed as a person as we progressed through the process. And by the time I got to the last 2 pieces, there was so much silence in my playing and so many points where I just let the sound ring. And it was like I just slowed down and slowed down and slowed down. And so I'm changed as a result of working with you on this.
When I would say changed working with the frequency of grace, right? That's what was directing all of it. And that's what I experienced afterwards is I literally just spent however many, this took like 6 weeks, like 6 weeks completely engulfed in grace. And every time I do a painting, I'm literally living it. I did a painting called The New Human, and my entire viewpoint shifted. And like I was just like seeing life through a completely different lens, one that was balanced and neutral. And it just like I was just like, that's not me. I would typically be kind of freaking out right now. And it's like, oh, because I'm being affected by this frequency. So yeah, it was such a beautiful collaboration in that way, to have the music from the very beginning, from the first painting I sent you, the first layer. It was just such a beautiful collaboration. So you were always here with me. Maybe someday we'll meet in person. It's been a complete honor.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I have just been so honored for everybody to take their time out today.
I have a little announcement too. My very first website went live today. It's pianobydovita.com. And on it, you can buy my first album called Layers of Grace. And it's all the pieces I created for each layer. And I'm doing a special release price of $11. And on the site, you can also see what I do in terms of creating music for people as gifts to themselves or for a loved one.
Yes, and I also do commission pieces individually for people. It can either be a door that would actually hang on your meditation room, or space in your home, or can be a canvas. But I'm going to start offering, if the person would like sound, if they would like to work with Davida. So hopefully the two of us will be working together again in the future beyond this project. All righty. Well, this has just been wonderful. Thank you again so much for joining us tonight. Again, thank you so much, and many, many blessings to you, and may grace always be with you.
So much has been said about the music and the painting and the process, and I can only second that. The text you read was very profound, and I think it was a very important element. I asked if you could share that, and if you can say more about it, where it came from, and how it flowed. And we haven't talked about that part yet.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't see that in the chat. So it's a transmission. Before I start any painting, I communicate with the frequency. It's work that I've been doing for years. I do it with individuals, I do it with companies. It's the information that comes through that then I can kind of feel myself aligned to the frequency in order to paint it. So it typically, when somebody purchases a canvas or a print, I send that along. So so that comes along, the QR code for the music comes along, because you're right, it's really, that was in the story we were telling when I was reading it at the total eclipse. I like the energy was, I couldn't even barely get the words out. So it is really profound information, and but it's just part of the work that I do.
What you were saying is something I've sat with for years, and that is that in a way, and that's why I think grace is so important here, more so than love, because in grace, this planet can just, die, and the grace stays the same. So from that aspect, I thought it was a very, very profound text. It remained loving and neutral, and it was like unbelievably authentic. If I could think as spirit would, how I would imagine that spirit thinks.